Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Johnny with Rules for Rebels. I thought we'd make a quick video today kind of talking about the recent all-time high of Bitcoin, as well as taking a look at some of the altcoin charts here. I'm going to try to keep this video kind of brief. Really, more than anything, I kind of want to start a discussion. I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are, what Bitcoin's going to do in the next 2 weeks or so leading up to the fork. What's Bitcoin price going to do after the fork? Do you think altcoins will come back? Really, my aim here is to kind of start a discussion. I'm curious to hear what you guys are thinking. I'm also going to offer a little bit of my own commentary, talk about the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, talking about within the next 8 weeks they're going to start trading Bitcoin futures and what that means and if they really will be buying Bitcoin. So I guess without further ado, let's get started. So I mean, right off the bat, last night Bitcoin hit an all-time high, I guess depending on which exchange you're looking at. Some say the high was $74.55, $7,455. On some other exchanges it only got to like 71, but yeah, the high was either 73.55 or 74.55 depending on what exchange you're looking at. Right now we're sitting at about 71.79. It'll be interesting to see if Bitcoin can hold above $7,000. Bitcoin's up like over $1,000 in the last 5 days, and when we have these big run-ups, I think it's really kind of hard to tell which direction things are going to go, because you have two things at play. You have FOMO going on, which is fear of missing out, people who don't have as much Bitcoin as they would like, or people who are just finding out a bit about Bitcoin and on the fence about buying in. They see the price going up higher and higher and higher and higher, and they're like, oh, it's at 7, I better get in before it goes to 10, and they're scared about missing out on those gains. And typically, I really don't know what to say. Part of me says, don't buy at an all-time high, because eventually it will pull back a little bit and you can maybe get in a couple $100 cheaper. You could also go with the thought process or the sentiment of, we've had like 10 all-time highs in the past month, so like which all-time high am I not supposed to buy at, because it just seems to keep going higher. So that's one thing. Also, we're heading into a potential Segwit2X fork. Now, what's kind of funny about these Bitcoin forks or these Bitcoin splits is way back before we had any of the Bitcoin splits, I'm thinking probably back around 2 years ago, the price was around, I don't know, 11, 12, maybe 1,300. And there was a lot of, people throw out the term FUD, or the acronym FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And there was a lot of, FUD going into it about, oh, wow, is Bitcoin going to split? Is this the end of Bitcoin? Is the new Bitcoin going to become the true Bitcoin and we're going to lose all our value? Are these two coins going to split value? And some of you guys may remember the time that I'm talking about. I remember I had always said I'm going to hold my Bitcoin. I'm going to hold my Bitcoin. I had a pretty good accumulation of Bitcoins because they were really cheap. Any of you guys who you watched me when I first started making Bitcoin videos, you made quite a bit of money if you got in, because one of the first Bitcoin videos I ever made on this channel, Bitcoin had either just flash crashed or I made the video a day before the flash crash, and Bitcoin got down to 487. I told you guys to buy. I told you guys I thought it'd be a good idea to get in, and obviously we see where the price has gone since then, but I always said I was going to hold. I'd kind of gotten greedy. I kept seeing the price go from 13 to 9, from 12 to 8, up to 11, down to 9, up to 13, down to 9, and it, I had some people in my ear telling me, why aren't you swing trading this and making some money off these swings rather than just sitting on it? Greed kind of got the best of me. I sold off at like 1,100, which wasn't even like the high at that point. Not all of it, but I sold off a good percentage of my Bitcoin at that point. Planning on, like it was like clockwork for several weeks. Planning on Bitcoin dropping back down to 800 or 900 and buying back in, ride it back up to 1,200, sell it, let it drop back down. But what wound up happening, it wound up shooting up to 19 and 2,000, and we all know the history. It's continued to go higher and higher since then. So I kind of shot myself in the foot there. I actually made kind of a funny video how I missed out on, I don't know, $35,000 or whatever it was at the time. But back then, before we actually even had any forks, there was a ton of like fear, uncertainty, and doubt, a ton of uncertainty going into these forks. And it was kind of funny. I actually expected Bitcoin price to kind of tank or pull back quite a bit leading into August 1st and the Bitcoin Cash fork, and I believe that's right around the time when Segwit, the first part of it, was activated as well. But I expected it to pull back, and really it just kind of traded sideways. And after the fork, obviously it has gone up in value, but it just kind of traded sideways, and I was kind of expecting a huge surge. after Bitcoin Cash was a flop, because, you know, all that uncertainty is gone, and I kind of expected money to rush into the market, and it didn't really happen that way. Then Bitcoin Gold, I don't think anybody ever really took that seriously. Just kind of a note on that. If any of you guys are interested in Bitcoin Gold, I guess you can start mining it right away. I think there's a guy, I want to say his channel is called I Mine Blocks. He made a video recently about how you can actually start mining Bitcoin Gold already. It hasn't actually released or really happened yet, even though technically it did happen. There aren't really any wallets out there. The exchanges that are trading it are basically trading on the future promise of Bitcoin Gold. I don't believe they actually even have it, but I guess Bitcoin Gold is like mined on the same program or the same algorithm as Zcash. So you can download a Zcash miner and I guess start mining Bitcoin Gold already. I really don't think it's worth doing, but I guess it's like GPU mining, so you're not going to need like one of these expensive ASIC miners. So I'm assuming, like I said, you know, this tech's a little bit over my head, but I'm guessing if you're like a gamer or something like that, you probably already have the equipment to where if you want to roll the dice and maybe you think Bitcoin Gold might go somewhere, you may be able to start mining it already. But yeah, going into this fork, I kind of expected... You never really know which way things are going to go. Going into a fork, there's kind of two thought processes or two schools of thought, two different groups. You have some people who want to buy in and get that free money, right? Bitcoin Cash kind of showed people that, oh, wow, we all get this free money. And in reality, we don't get free money when a coin forks. What we wind up getting is a altcoin. The market then determines whether that altcoin has any value or not. In the case of Bitcoin Cash, it did have some value. In the case of Bitcoin Gold, it looks like it's going to have very little to no value. But you are going to get some people rushing into Bitcoin prior to a fork, thinking that I want to get my free cash, right? But there's also a lot of, you know, uncertainty going into a fork. I think the days of people thinking a fork is going to kill Bitcoin are over. But you know, you do still have some people in that school of thought, and there is some uncertainty. So you're also seeing people sell off before a fork, saying, you know, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait to see what happens, and I'll buy back in after the fork. So you have kind of two different competing, I guess, investment strategies, so to speak. And you were not really sure which, you know, is money going to flood into the market to get free coins, or is money going to dump out of the markets because of uncertainty? But it looks like things are rising leading up to the fork. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on like what's going to happen in like the next 2 weeks up until like November 15th. That should be interesting to see. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange has announced that they're going to be trading Bitcoin futures before the end of the year, and I've even heard within the next 8 weeks. Now, I think that's somewhat contributing to the rise in Bitcoin, and at first I was really hyped about that, right? Like, oh my gosh, we're going to get a ton of like institutional money coming in here and essentially gambling on Bitcoin, which could bring a ton of money into the market. It could also bring a lot of volatility into the market. But something I've heard more recently, and I'm not really sure about which way this is going to go. Maybe one of you guys can comment on it if you've read an article or know a little bit more about it. But basically, from what I've heard, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange may not actually be buying Bitcoins. They may kind of form some future market that relies only on fiat, and they're essentially betting on which way Bitcoin is going to go in futures of Bitcoin. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have to buy Bitcoin in order to trade a futures market. And if that's the case, and if, you know, and none of us really know, but if that's a significant reason for this recent hype, and then we come to find out that Bitcoins aren't even going to be involved in this Bitcoin future, we could see a little bit of a pullback. And then when Bitcoin's hitting all-time high prices like this, like it is right now, something else we see is there's kind of two different schools of thought. So we have some people who are like, oh crap, Bitcoin's at an all-time high, I better take out some profits because it normally pulls back. So when Bitcoin hits 7,400, there's a lot of people who are like, you know what, I'm sitting on some pretty good profit, I'm gonna sell this off, take some profits. I'm pretty sure Bitcoin's going to fall back down to like 6,900. Maybe I'll buy back in and, you know, get myself an extra like $600 per coin by taking some profits and buying back in later at a lower price. Then you also get kind of the FOMO community who are like, oh my gosh, it's at 7. It's going to be at 10 before the end of the year. I better get in now at 7 so I'm not paying 10, you know, 3 weeks from now or a month from now. So again, you know, it could go one of two ways. We could see money rushing in because we're seeing it go higher and higher and higher and people don't want to miss out. But then you also, when something, you know, spikes really quickly, you tend to get people selling off and you know, taking profits as well. Let's take a look at the altcoins really quickly. And it's kind of frustrating. I had actually got into altcoins somewhat of the mindset that, well, I think in general, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I think it's going to go much higher. But at the same time, you know, for somebody to double up on Bitcoin would have to go from like 7,000 to 14,000. And in the near future, I don't necessarily see that happening. So a lot of people, myself included, kind of think if you're wanting to see those like, you know, 10x gains, those 20x gains, etc., you're going to have to get into the altcoins. Now, I think the more obscure a coin, the more risky it is, but also the more upside potential there is for it. So I kind of like Ethereum and Litecoin because I've always thought that they might have more potential upside than Bitcoin, but at the same time, they're probably not going to be as crazy gains as some of the crazier coins, but it's also less risky as well. But we see right now, Ethereum's at 285, Litecoin's at 52. One thing that's really frustrating me, I kind of have FOMO with Ethereum and Litecoin. Like, you know, are Ethereum and Litecoin one day going to go to hundreds or even thousands? I guess Ethereum's already at hundreds of dollars, but like, is Litecoin going to go up to a couple $100? Could, you know, Ethereum, you know, break $1,000? That would be a huge gain. I don't want to miss out on it, so I'm going into those. And I'm sitting pretty heavily on Ethereum and Litecoin. And right now, as I see Bitcoin going up, up, and up, and these things just like trading sideways, I'm kind of really frustrated with myself that like I'm literally leaving thousands of dollars on the table by sitting heavy in Ethereum and Litecoin and not having that money in Bitcoin. Ethereum and Litecoin are kind of holding their own, just trading sideways. The rest of the alts, for the most part, are getting hammered. I've never been a fan of Ripple. Litecoin's down. I've always said I want to have at least 84 Litecoins because that would put me in the millionth club. I would have a millionth of all Litecoins out there. And I'm actually sitting on quite a bit more than that right now. Monero, a buddy of mine got me into Monero at about $150. I forget what the Bitcoin rate was. I don't know why I listen to him. Every time I get advice from him, it's terrible. I got into the D-Market ICO based off of his recommendation as well. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, I got some free coins by buying in early. I got like a 10 or 15% bonus or something. I think it's a 10% bonus. So, I mean, I suppose, hopefully, early on, if I wanted to dump them, I could dump them for a quick 10% gain. Hopefully, it does something, but I think there's another similar project called Engine, and I don't know, there's a couple other kind of video game projects that I think are going to kind of dwarf the D-Market thing. So we'll see what happens, but I think I get those coins tomorrow. I think it'll be another month or at least a couple weeks before I can actually start trading them. ARK is way down. Let's take a look here. I think ARK's actually down pretty big today. My internet's been kind of slow here. It's a low of 183. Okay, so I'm bullish on ARK, but man, like, you know, I guess I had started dollar cost averaging into altcoins thinking that as soon as the fork happens and everyone gets their free money, money is going to rush back into altcoins because people were dumping altcoins to get into Bitcoins to claim their free money. But you know, altcoins aren't really doing much, and I'm much less bullish on them than I was before. I mean, if you are still into altcoins, and I'm not saying I think altcoins are dead or I'm giving up on them, but it's just frustrating that, you know, I could have been making a lot more money in Bitcoin than in some of these altcoins. But ARK's at a really low price. I am a believer in ARK. I think there's some money to be made on ARK. Hopefully money starts flowing back into alts, but ARK's at a really low price right now. I'm kind of considering buying some of that. Lisk, I've been saying under $5, I think, is a buy. At 450 something, it's even more of a buy in my mind. What winds up happening to me a lot of times is I'm sitting pretty heavy in crypto. Like a significant portion of like my net worth is in crypto. So when it winds up continuing to dip more and more and more, part of me is like, oh, you know, I'm already sitting pretty heavy in this. Like, crypto is kind of an uncertain thing. I think most financial advisors would tell you not to be as heavy in cryptos as myself, and I think probably even a lot of you guys are. And so I'm kind of, even though I should be buying on as it continues to dip and dip and dip and dip, part of me is like, oh, I'm already sitting in this pretty heavy. Do I want to get in there any heavier? And then also, would I be better off just sitting in Bitcoin? But my thought kind of going into this fork was there's bigger gains to be made buying altcoins at dirt cheap prices than there is sitting in Bitcoin. And I actually started buying too early. As I started buying, I kind of knew I was buying too early. You know, I watch a lot of other crypto guys and things, and like at the beginning of October, people were like, you know, alts are down. I'd wait a few weeks before buying them, and I wound up buying some, and I continued to dollar cost average into it. But I am kind of kicking myself for not waiting a little bit longer. I'm still buying a little bit of some cryptos. Lisk was actually under $4 within the last 24 hours, which I think is a huge buy. XCM was up to what, 30 something cents at one point. That's down to 16. I do think that's a buy. I'm a little bit less bullish on XCM than I used to be, although XCM has really risen up in the market cap, in the top market cap spots as well. So I think that's a good thing. I made a boatload off NAV when it rose up to like $1.50. I actually just got into it last night. I think I'm down a little bit on it. Redcoin, I'm bullish on Redcoin. If they get this red ID out, I think it could be cool. Most people would consider this a shit coin. I wouldn't suggest putting too much into it. I think I got 100,000 coins for, I don't know, probably between $100 and $150. Metal, I was bullish on. Metal's a project that's like supposed to be on PayPal. I got into that one really high at like $10 or $11, maybe $9, but $9, $10, $11. That one's gotten hammered. Saya coin, I was bullish on early on, but it's never really done anything. Golem, another one I used to be really bullish on. I'm sitting on a loss on that one. Steam, I've never seen Steam this low, but I've never seen most of these altcoin prices this low. Steam down to 87. Used to be able to trade Steam like clockwork, man. You could buy it at, you know, $1, $1.05, $1.15, watch it go up to $1.45, $1.55, sell off. Without fail, it would drop back down to $1, $1.05, $1.15. You could buy it back up and do it all over again. Steam's down. I've actually been meaning to make another video talking about Steam at the actual site and project behind Steam. They recently did a rebranding, have a new logo, totally changed the look of the site. Some interesting stuff going on over there, but you know, back during the summer I was making a lot of videos talking about like I'm very bullish on Steam. I'm spending a lot of time on there, and for a while I started getting a lot of traction. I was getting some videos and posts making, you know, $15, $16, $18, $20 per post. Consistently, everything I put up with was making $3 to $5 per post. I was pretty excited about it, and then I wound up going away on a camping trip for about a week and was kind of inactive on there. And when I came back, I don't know if all my followers forgot about me or whatever, but I mean, I'm back to doing 20 cents a post, maybe $1 on a good post. Pay 10x. The 10x token, it's like a cryptocurrency debit card. I was really bullish on that. My buddy who I told you always gives me losers told me to buy this one. I bought this one. I made some money on it, but it's down right now. Qdom's an interesting one. I don't think I've ever bought into that one, but I've been keeping an eye on it. Omai's Go, man, I'm into Omai's Go for, you know, I don't know, anywhere from $7 up to like $12. McDonald's in Thailand started accepting it. It's really big community, really good developer team, so really kind of sad to see this one down at $6. I do think this one is a buy, but I don't know how long. You can see how it's been tanking here. I don't know how long people are going to be out of altcoins for. I'm sitting pretty heavy in Batcoin at about 24 cents, so I'm down quite a bit on that one. I mean, fortunately, the money I'm down is pretty much all profits. Vertcoin's an interesting one, man. Vertcoin at like, I was messing with Vertcoin at like 40, 50 cents. You know, was swing trading it, making some profits and things like that. Didn't really expect it to go sky high. And what's kind of funny is all the other altcoins have been kind of tanking and things like that. Vertcoin has been going up, up, and up. And like when Vertcoin was at 90 cents, I was like, I'd like to go in, but I think it's too high. I think it'll pull back. Then it was at like $1. It's too high. Then it was at $1.50. It's too high. Then it was at $2. Oh, I think it's too high. And pretty much all the way up to like all the way up to over $5. I've been saying I should get in, but it's too high. It's pulled back. I'm tempted to get in right now, but I mean, when you look at the charts, even though it's had quite a pullback, it's still up like 230 something percent, or I'm probably inaccurate in my percentage, but I mean, it's still up huge if you look at the past 30 days, past 60 days or whatever. So I'm kind of scared to buy into that one, especially with people not really digging alts. I'm into Factom at like $30, as well as some cheaper ones, but sitting at a loss on those. Stellar Lumens, XLM, you know, funny, I got in on that one when it was like dirt cheap, probably less than a penny. All of a sudden it like spiked like crazy. I don't know too much about the product. I know it's somewhat similar to Ripple, but it like tripled in price overnight, if not more than that. I wound up selling all mine off. Neo, I used to be into Neo, kind of lost interest in Neo. I think Neo was a big project with the Chinese, so with all the Chinese exchanges shutting down or whatever else is going on with that, you know, I think that project's, you know, just going to kind of trade sideways for a while. And then Rise like tripled up the other day. Rise is kind of an interesting one. I don't necessarily see it going anywhere in the long term, but it does have some interesting spikes. I think it went up to almost like 60 cents the other day. So I think if you're looking for something to swing trade, Rise is an interesting one, but it'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on Bitcoin, you know, the next couple weeks going into the fork here. Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention. So it's at this point almost looking like Segwit2 isn't even going to happen. So I'm not telling you guys what to do. I don't want to be responsible for anybody's decisions, but what it's looking like is Segwit2 may not even wind up happening. Right now you can actually sell, it's been like a day since I checked, but right now you can actually sell your Segwit2 futures on Hit BTC for I think over $1,200. So before I was worried about kind of a flippening potentially happening. Excuse me, guys. I was worried about a flippening happening, which, just to give you an example, let's say what Bitcoin Cash wound up coming out and essentially Bitcoin Cash became the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin became like an altcoin, and they essentially flipped values. So like Bitcoin Cash became worth 5,000. The Bitcoin BTC that we traditionally know winds up being 1,000, and they flip spots. Well, with this upcoming Segwit2 fork, I was going to kind of sit on my things because initially it looked kind of contentious, and what I didn't want to happen was for them to flip spots, and I wound up selling off my Segwit2X tokens at $1,000, and I wound up losing out on like $5 per coin, or basically betting on the wrong coin. Well, now it's looking more and more like it's not going to happen, or the support's not going to be there. So it may not actually be a bad idea to sell those futures. I'm still kind of on the fence of what to do, but just wanted to let you guys know about that. But yeah, that's it, guys.